There are so many ways a celebrity can ruin their career. It's a terrible thing to think about, someone losing their livelihood, but for a lot of stars, it's a reality that they face every day. Old tweets could resurface, they could face some sort of serious allegation, or even get in some legal trouble. For some celebs, their careers end after some mishaps on live TV, so let's talk about some of them as we count down the top 10 celebrities who destroyed their careers on live TV. At number 10, Mariah Carey. We all know Mariah Carey as the skinny legend that she is, but lately people have been saying that her career is over. Though she's still out here making music and living her best life, there are some who say that her career is over, and it all ended in 2016 during a live mishap that happened at her New Year's Rockin' Eve performance. After building up to her huge performance at the end of the night, she finally took the stage and didn't sing a single note. When she got up to perform, the music started playing and she just stood there saying that she couldn't hear anything, probably in reference to nothing playing in her earpiece. As the music started playing for the audience, Mariah's dancers kept on going in the background and she shared her mic with the audience, getting them to sing for her, but nothing ever came out of her mouth. It was a letdown for a lot of people, and it got a lot of fans wondering why she didn't sing even though there was music playing. For a while now, people have wondered if she's been lip syncing, and there is some evidence to maybe back this up, but what do you guys think? Is Mariah faking it, and is her career really over? At number 9, Karmin. When you're trying to make a name for yourself, engagement is everything. For a lot of performers, they try to get out in front as many people as possible and attract more fans because doing so will help you grow faster, making you famous. One of the biggest assets you could have when growing your audience is having a successful guest appearance on a late night show like SNL because of how many viewers can tune in and watch you grow. This is how Lana Del Rey started, but this blessing can also be a curse and can end a few careers as well. Karmin was a music duo who got their start on YouTube by posting covers, though now it's been disbanded and rebranded, and there was a time when they almost reached fame after being musical guests on SNL, but after tanking their performance, they lost it all. They had a large following, and so when the casting director over at SNL found them and invited them to perform on the show, things started to look promising. They came on the show and performed their songs Broken Hearted and I Told You So, and after their performance, the reviews came pouring in, and they weren't very positive. They faced a lot of criticism, saying that they failed to connect with the audience, and one review even claimed that the duo's performance caused, quote, mild auditory distress. After this catastrophic performance, things weren't ever the same, and their careers were pretty much over after that night. Now before I carry on with the list, I'd like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video to help support the channel. At number 8, Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once the wholesome southern mom who loved to cook, but after 2013, she took on a very different label after a lawsuit revealed her racist actions to the world. In 2013, Paula was facing legal action from one of her former employees who alleged that Paula was racist towards her and that she had repeatedly been harassed while working at one of her restaurants. After being deposed, the truth came out about Paula when asked if she had ever used the N-word, and she said yes. After this came out, the floodgates opened and backlash ensued. As anyone would do, Paula went on the defense and even sat down for an interview on the Today Show, but instead of owning up to her actions and trying to clear her name, as most people would try to do in that situation, Paula instead deflected the criticism she was facing and even voiced how she was surprised that so many people were taking offense towards her actions. It was thought that this interview was all for publicity, not for making a public apology, and after this, her career was pretty much done for because there was no coming back from this scandal, especially because she never apologized. At number 7, Charles Rocket. The 1980/1981 season of Saturday Night Live was a rocky and controversial one. This all started after executive producer Lorne Michaels took a step back from the show for a year and the position was filled by Gene Dumanian. Because of this position change, most of the cast left, prompting Gene to have to hire a new cast. This new cast is full of new faces and was untested, so at this point the show was facing a lot of criticisms and bad reviews. Things went from bad to worse for everyone after comedian Charles Rocket dropped an F-bomb during a skit. SNL skits have been quite controversial in the past and they still face backlash from time to time, but swearing on live TV was really where the show drew the line, and breaking that cardinal rule could be detrimental to your career. During the season's 11th episode, Charles was closing out the show and decided to let an F-bomb fly while referencing a skit that he did earlier where he said, quote, "This is the first time I've been shot in my life. I'd like to know who the F did it," end quote. People seem to believe that he swore on purpose because if you watch the footage back, there isn't any hesitation when he said it. But it could have just been that he didn't know that he couldn't say it, or he didn't realize that he had said it until later. Either way, this was the last straw for the studio and they fired much of the cast and crew, including Deen and Charles. This whole scandal came so close to sinking the entire show for good, but it did end up destroying Rocket's career after this. At number 6, Jenny Slate. Sometimes your career can make or break you. Doing your job really well can pay off later down the line, but if you mess up, there can be some consequences. The messing up part applies to comedian Jenny Slate because after an incident on SNL cost her job, her career may have been set back a little. Though she's found a lot of success now, back in 2009 when she worked on SNL, she was pretty new to the industry and was looking for something to bring her career to new heights. When she was hired on SNL as a writer and performer, things were looking great for her, but all that excitement turned sour after her first on-air performance. In her first appearance as a member of cast on the show, she was performing one of the sketches that she wrote, and while on air she accidentally switched up one of her lines, making it a little more adult and dropping an F-bomb. She quickly caught herself saying it, but it was too late. Unfortunately, you can't put the words back in once they've left your mouth. She tried to brush it off, pretending like no one else heard it, but unfortunately people did hear it. This mistake stuck with her for the rest of the time that she worked there, and she ended up leaving the show after one season. She was fired at the end of the season, not necessarily because of the F-bomb incident, but because she, quote, didn't do a good job and didn't click. Because she got fired from such a big-time production, it took a little for her to get back on her feet, but she's been doing great since. A minor setback, but nothing major. At number 5, Ashlee Simpson. This is one of the cringiest SNL moments and is sometimes referred to as the worst moment in SNL history. Though that's a bit of an extreme title, it was a doozy of a scandal and no one was quick to forget about it, especially Ashlee. In 2004, Ashlee Simpson was invited on SNL as their musical guest to perform a few songs to promote her newest album at the time, Autobiography. She planned to perform a few songs from said album, and things went off without a hitch as she got into her first song, Pieces of Me. Her performance went pretty well and she got the audience hyped for another song, but that's when things started to go south. As the band set up for the next song, music started playing, but it wasn't what anyone was expecting to hear. A vocal track for Pieces of Me started playing again instead of the next song in her set, revealing that Ashlee had been lip-syncing that whole time. She froze on stage, clearly embarrassed, and then she started doing a little embarrassing dance before running off the stage as the show cut to commercial. She tried to brush it off later when they came back on the air, but the cringe was just too much for people to handle. Later on, we found out that Ashlee was advised by her father to have the vocal track and just lip sync because she'd been suffering from some severe acid reflux that had been causing damage to her vocal cords, and he just wanted her to rest her voice a little. It was only good intentions that got her into that predicament, but people say that this was the moment that destroyed her career. At number 4, Janet Jackson. The Super Bowl halftime show is the one moment a year that millions of people tune in to watch the same thing. People turn off their reality TV programs and reruns of Jeopardy to grab a snack and watch the year's biggest performance. Well, during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show, viewers watched a serious wardrobe malfunction happen that was life-changing to say the least. Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake were performing together when a move went wrong and Janet's breast ended up getting exposed. Following the incident, the media dubbed Nipplegate, the FCC sued CBS for the live incident in a $550,000 lawsuit, citing indecent exposure for their cause. Janet Jackson was really put through the ringer for her part in the whole scandal. As a result, she was uninvited to the Grammy Awards that year, and her songs were blacklisted from the radio. Even the next few albums that she released following the incident was met with negative reviews because of the scandal. If this were to happen now, I doubt she would have been met with such severe backlash. Do you? It was later discovered that this whole incident happened because the two performers had added a costume reveal into their performance at the last minute, and though it was rehearsed, the stunt failed at the last minute, resulting in Janet's exposure. It was all just an accident that ended up destroying someone's career. At number 3, Sinead O'Connor. SNL has been hit with controversies in the past, but I think one of the biggest ones I can think of is the one surrounding Sinead O'Connor, the Catholic Church, and SNL. On October 3rd, 1992, Sinead was invited on the show and was asked to perform a few songs from her newest album at the time, and she agreed, but had one request. Instead of performing one of her original songs, she opted to sing a cover of Bob Marley's song War. Though it was a bit of a bizarre request, they allowed it, and so Sinead got up on stage and performed a very dramatic rendition of the song, even switching up some of the lyrics to change the context and meaning. Her performance all led up to where Sinead really made a huge statement where she tore up a photo of the Pope saying, quote, "Fight the real enemy." Apparently, this whole performance was designed to be a stunt as a means to raise awareness about how the Catholic Church had allegedly been hurting people. Sinead recalled having known people who were hurt by members of the church, and she wanted to fight back on their behalf. Well, instead of this helping people like she wanted it to, it instead killed her career. As for the days following this live stunt, the network received thousands of angry calls. Even some celebrities spoke out condemning Sinead for this. Her career never really recovered from this moment, but she still stands by her decision to pull the stunt anyway. At number 2, Milli Vanilli. In the 90s, there was a huge music scandal that ended careers and ended in tragedy. The lip sync scandal that surrounded Milli Vanilli was one of music's biggest scandals, and it revealed that they were never really a real group and that everything was fake. This stage act was put together by German record producer Frank Farian as he attempted to create the next biggest music stars. It worked in theory, but they fell from grace as quickly as they rose. He had a vision to be able to release amazing music, but he needed the perfect people to sell it, and that's where Morven and Politis came into play. These two dancers were hired to be the bright, shining faces of Milli Vanilli, and though it was a musical act, they never had to sing. In fact, they lip-synced their entire career. Their act was a hit, and it worked for a while, even earning themselves a Grammy for their song Girl You Know It's True, but like all good things, they can never last. Milli Vanilli conquered the Billboard charts, they were asked to tour and perform live, but things started to get difficult for them since this act never really sang, and playing pretend on stage just wasn't cutting it. Eventually, they were caught in the act, so to speak, as their track suddenly stopped working during the live performance, revealing that they were faking it all along. This took a big toll on Morven and Politis, especially on their mental health, driving Politis to take his own life. And finally, at number 1, Natalia kills. How mean is too mean? Well, for former X Factor New Zealand judge Natalia Kills, she was too mean. After casting some harsh judgment on an X Factor contestant, Natalia was dubbed a bully and saw her career go down the tubes as a result. On the show's second season, contestant Joe Irvin performed a rendition of Michael Bublé's Cry Me a River, and when he finished his performance, that is when all hell broke loose. Natalia criticized his performance harshly, saying that he was a copycat of her husband, saying that he made her feel disgusted and sick. She also said, quote, "As an artist who respects creative integrity and intellectual property, I'm disgusted at how much you have copied from my husband. From the hair to the suit, do you not have any value or respect for originality? You are a laughingstock, it's cheesy, it's disgusting. I personally found it absolutely artistically atrocious," end quote. A lot of people were shocked at how harsh her criticisms were, and so many people were appalled by Natalia's behavior that a petition was made to have her and another judge who was also a little too harsh removed from the show. The petition worked, and they were both booted midway through the season. Following this incident, Natalia was shunned and even went as far as changing her name to deflect some of the scrutiny that she was facing. Her career was truly over after this moment. Well, that's it for our list. I've been your host, Beer Room, and until next time, stay safe, make good choices, and stay groovy, friends. Bye!